Hello, hello. Looks like I am live. If anyone pops in, I remember last time I couldn't see your comments, but if anyone pops in, let me know. Can I be seen and can I be heard? Hopefully, we can see comments. Also, let me know if you're drinking a gem elixir today. What is in your elixir bottle? What kind of gem elixir are you working with today? Let's get all set up here. Today we're talking about the heart chakra. Good stuff. I'm going to give it about another 10 seconds. I might be able to check here and make sure that I can be seen and heard. Again, last time I couldn't see. Looks like I am live. All right, I am there. Perfect. Hey friends, I'm Audrey. Most of us know each other by now. I'm a functional and integrative nurse nutritionist and energy medicine practitioner with Gemstone Well. I'm a certified crystal practitioner and advanced crystal master practitioner. I am so excited to be hanging out with y'all. I always love doing this class. It's one of my most favorite things to do, and I know I say that every time, but it is the honest truth. I love doing this. We have got some exciting things coming for our little corner of Facebook, our little crystal club, so stay tuned. I also think we have some new members, so welcome new members. If you're watching live or on the replay, please don't hesitate to introduce yourself, say hi. We're a nice group of gals in here, so we encourage you to say hello. And there could be some crystal men in here as well. I just haven't seen them if they are, but you as well. So today we're starting the 4th class in our chakra series. We're actually going to do 2 more classes. We're going to do the throat chakra as one because there's a lot of information there. And then we're going to do the 3rd eye and the crown chakra. Hi, Maria. Yay, I can see comments today. How exciting. So we're going to do the throat chakra next time. And then the time after that, we're going to do the 3rd eye and crown chakra. Then we're going to do a whole class on pendulums, which is so much fun. Pendulums, and I'll probably throw in energy sensing in there as well because pendies may not take up the whole time. So we'll do that one as well. So the heart chakra, that's what we're talking about today. It really pairs nicely with the solar plexus chakra, and I touched on some of that last time. It's for manifesting abundance or love. And so a lot of times you have to have that combination of that self-power as well as the open receiving. I bet my mic is all the way over here. I bet y'all can hear me better now, huh? So you have to have that combination of the heart, which is receiving and being open to receive, and the solar plexus, that seat of personal power, in order to really manifest what it is that you are looking for. So some of the things that we did last time also help, specifically thinking of the belt flow here. Remember, I talked about the energies coming from the lower chakras and the upper chakras and getting stuck at that belt flow. So heart chakra, I'm not going to reteach you the belt flow. You can go back and look at solar plexus chakra for that, because I want to take up our heart chakra time with heart chakra stuff, right? But that might be an important exercise for you if you find that you are having trouble with this particular chakra. We're also going to look at my handy human body sum for this one, which is also super fun. While we're waiting, good, Maria says she can hear me much better. Excellent. So I tried to connect my wireless headphones and they won't connect. So yay for technology. I actually got to sit down and have coffee with a real human today, and that hasn't happened since March. So that was pretty exciting. I'm super thankful that I was able to social distance and appropriately actually meet somebody in person because even in my clinical practice, I haven't been doing in-person stuff, just distance stuff. So while that is really great, it's also, like sometimes as introverted as I am, I still need some humans around. So I want to get to the cardiovascular system for you guys here. So while we're waiting on everyone to join, hi, Bonnie. You haven't missed anything. I'm mostly just rambling still, doing the intro. So welcome, Bonnie. I appreciate you coming live to the class. While we're waiting for everyone to join, I will just do a little housekeeping. If you have questions, put them in the comments. Hooray, I can see them today. Sometimes Facebook acts a little wonky. So if for some reason I miss your comment or your question, I always come back after and respond to them, even if I have to type the response. Also, Facebook sometimes gets tired and boots me off. So if that happens, I'll always come right back on. You might have to refresh your feed a few times. And please know there is at least a 30-second, maybe up to a minute or more delay between what I say and when you hear it. So that same delay is coming back when you leave a comment. If the video gets broken up into separate parts, our team at Gemstone Well does a really good job of putting it all back together. All right. Are we ready to dig in? So quick review. We'll make it really quick. Quick review on what is a chakra, just in case you haven't watched the previous chakra series classes. It's one of the body's 3 subtle energy systems, physical, astral, and spiritual. Some people describe those as physical, emotional, and mental. A subtle energy system isn't physical, right? It's metaphysical or beyond the physical. Another way to think of it is more than physical. It allows us, it means that you can not access it generally through any of your 5 senses, although there are some new medical technologies that allow us to sense or see the energy field via scans. So when I think of subtle energy systems, sometimes it's hard to visualize because it's not something that we generally see with our 5 senses, our typical 5 senses. So I like to think of subtle energy as the clouds and physical energy as clay, right? Subtle energy you can see, you can feel it, but you can't like pick it up and take it with you, right? And then physical energy, clay, you can see, you can feel, and it's very easy to pick it up and move it, for example. Also, I want you to know that there is some version of chakra called something else for just about every indigenous group that ever has been on Mama Earth, right? For this, I'm going to talk about the Sanskrit version because generally it's what you find most often. It's most widely referenced. And as I mentioned before, I think that is because of the influence of yoga on American culture, but I haven't researched that as fact, okay? So I'm going to take a quick drink here. Is anyone drinking a gem elixir today? If so, what's in it? I've got smoky quartz in mine. I had a lot of meetings this morning and it just felt like the right thing. Not bad meetings, but maybe they weren't bad because of my smoky quartz. Okay, so again, today we're talking about the heart chakra, beautiful pink and green. And one of my very favorite things to visualize when I'm working on the heart chakra is a tight pink rosebud, right? And so visualizing because the pink and the green, you can visualize the bud tightly wound up and the green leaves around it. And then as you breathe into it, you open that rose into a big, pretty rose flower. And so that's just a quick tip on how to open it. The Sanskrit for heart chakra is anahata. That's an easy one that I can pronounce, right? I always tell y'all that I can't really pronounce some of these Sanskrit names. It was one of the worst things about yoga teacher training because I just wasn't good at it. So I'm going to open this book up and I'm going to make sure that y'all can see it. So this is the cardiovascular system. This is the heart. You can see how the heart is kind of left of center. The heart chakra is actually dead center in the middle of the heart, right between the nipple line. So right in the middle of the chest. It encompasses the heart, the lungs, the ribs, the upper back, the thymus, which is behind the heart. And interestingly, a lot of people don't know this, but the heart is a sensory organ. Have you guys ever heard it called a sensory organ? See, most of us are taught in school that the heart is constantly responding to orders from other systems, usually the brain, right? That the brain sends a neural signal down to the heart, but what is actually not commonly known is the heart is the primary organ in interactions. The heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So it develops first in fetal development, way before the brain, right? There's a beating heart. If you've ever had kids or had a sonogram or been with someone when they've had a sonogram, then you know that you can see that heartbeat long before there's a brain or any other fetal development. And that's one of the reasons why the heart is considered the primary organ. even though when you're looking at chakras, the earliest that any of the chakra systems say that the heart chakra develops isn't until a few years later. But what that means, and what is well known in conventional medicine, is that data from our environment, all the information from nature, from other people, from objects around us, actually enters the body through the heart, enters your field through the heart. And a lot of people think that the eyes see the fear, and then the eyes send the message to the brain, and the message sends the brain to the heart, and then everywhere else in the body reacts as well. But what actually happens is the heart perceives something and then directs the brain. It can feel different if you're not used to being in tune with your body, paying that perception, that close attention to your heart space. But again, especially if there's a threat, what actually happens is the heart perceives the threat, sends the message to the brain like, oh no, something's about to happen. Then the brain sends the message back to the heart to start racing. It sends the message to all the other organs to shuttle the blood to the muscles and away from, say, your digestive system, so that you can fight or flight. So run or stay and fight. A lot of people don't recognize that because in school, and honestly, all the way up until nurse practitioner school for me, advanced pathophysiology, I had always heard that the brain is in charge. Actually, the heart, it tends to be the primary organ. And that communication that the heart happens, the heart sets off that communication cascade, not the brain. So the heart chakra also corresponds with something called the cardiac plexus. The cardiac plexus is a collection of nerves, and that collection of nerves goes all the way around the heart. So the pericardium, which is like the sac the heart is in, and the epicardium, which is the inside of that sac, and it also innervates the heart. So the cool thing about the heart, and there are electrical connections that happen all over our bodies, right? But the cool thing about our heart is what fires that initial electrical contraction. So the contraction of the heart actually creates an electrical charge, and that's what you can see in like an EKG, right? It was actually, the heart center was one of the first energy fields that were, they use the word discovered a lot, but it's kind of like, these cultures were talking about the energy field of the heart for millennia before it was discovered in 1863. But I guess you would say it was proven in conventional or Western scientific medicine in 1863 that the heart, one, had an energy field, and two, was able to send an electric charge. We were actually able to measure that charge in 1863. So the heart has this weird balance. The heart and the heart chakra has this weird balance of, it's very much conventional science, conventional medicine, Western medicine, and also very much spiritual and energetic medicine. But it's the only, or one of the only, the heart and the brain really are two of the places that really that science and spiritual, or that physics and metaphysics cross and meet and merge, because the science is so much more advanced in those areas. So energetically, if you will, the heart chakra is the center of positive emotions, positive virtues. So things like appreciation and compassion. Most spiritual disciplines, religions consider the heart as the center of love. Christian religions consider it where the Christ is, the Christ love is the center of Christ's love. It's also your ability to regulate relationships, and that's relationships with others and relationships with self, right? The heart chakra helps us to balance that emotional and relationship need with those, with ourselves and with others, but also helps us to balance being generous and seeking or receiving or nurturing ourselves. Ethics often live here in the heart. And then your need to be an individual as well as be part of a community at the same time also stem from that heart. All the balance of those things are here in the heart chakra. Let me take a quick sip. I feel like I've been talking all day, so I want to make sure I don't get the tickle in my throat. Lori's here. Hi, Lori. I saw you say hi on my other video too. Hello, hello. All right, so what happens when the heart chakra is out of balance? When the energy field of your heart is out of balance? Well, physically, that looks like illness, right? Disease of the heart, disease of the lungs, disease of the breast, of the ribs, anything, heart disease, asthma, cancers, pneumonia, respiratory infections. What does that sound like? Thoracic spinal issues, the thymus gland, so a lot of immune issues. We know our immunity comes from our gut, but there's a gland behind your heart called the thymus gland, and it's responsible for making a specific type of immune cell that is really, really important to your body, and that's why we do the thymus thump, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about energy work or energy healing for the heart, right? Also, anything with the shoulders or the upper back, that is also heart chakra. So think about current pandemic, right? Technically, energy medicine wise, the current pandemic is a heart chakra issue, specifically a grief issue in the heart chakra, which now that you are kind of learning more about the heart chakra, you can see how that connects, right? Lungs, respiratory illness. We'll talk about what an underactive heart chakra looks like. Grief, all of those things have to do with the heart chakra, that respiratory illness, and it's kind of interesting, immune system. The whole thing ties together for me. So I hope you're tracking there. I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent about current events. So overactive heart chakra looks like jealousy, looks like codependency, it looks like martyrdom, it looks like having a big ego, like an unhealthily big ego. And the ego often gets a bad rap. I think it's there to help protect us and guide us, but oftentimes it can be grandiose, right? Self-centeredness, tribalism or cliquishness, where it's just your group and nobody else can play, right? And you can see that a lot with kids, but it happens with adults too, right? An underactive chakra, on the flip side of this, it includes things like the inability to forgive, loneliness, which we're going to talk more about loneliness, lack of empathy, lack of self-love, apathy, grief, indifference, or withdrawing. These are all signs of having an underactive heart chakra. So this is a good time for a little bit of interesting information. Back in January, or it might have even been February, I gave a public talk. Had to have been February because by March everything was closed down. But I gave a public talk in February about heart health. And this is one of the things that I included in it because I always cross the line between energy and conventional. So does anyone have a guess about the number one most frequent predictive precursor to a heart attack? You could also call it a cardiac event, right? Because heart attack often doesn't necessarily mean the person didn't survive, but so sometimes they call them cardiac events. It's more predictive than diabetes, more predictive than high blood pressure, more predictive than cholesterol levels or smoking. Does anyone have a guess as to what that might be? And if you've heard the podcast from a while back, then that's cheating. It's actually loneliness. Loneliness is the number one predictor or the number one predictive precursor to a heart attack. So a feeling, an emotion, an energy, if you will, is the best predictor for cardiac events, far more than any of those physical malfunctions, diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, smoking. All of those have their own energy with them, of course, but far more than that. It's proven that loneliness, a broken heart, is more triggering for cardiac events. Bonnie Brown said stress. That can be, you could consider stress and loneliness part of the same thing. And stress is right up there at the top as well. But that's one of the main reasons why I say that along with taking care of your human suit, it is critical to be aware, connected, coherent in your heart, right? And your energy, because your heart sets the rhythm physically and energetically, quite literally, for the rest of your human suit and your energetic field. It's the center, the primary. So when your heart chakra is balanced, we have a sense of wholeness, a lot of love-centered abilities like empathy and compassion and friendliness and motivation and commitment, nurturing and acceptance. Okay, so those are signs of a balanced heart chakra. And you can also look at a balanced heart chakra as a rhythm. There's actually a rhythm to a balanced heart chakra, a heart rate variability rhythm to a balanced heart chakra. So let's talk about crystals for the heart chakra. I don't wear a lot of rose quartz or green stones, so I tried to find some for y'all. I mean, I have a lot, but I don't wear them often. I usually try to like dress the chakra. So I have a little unakite here on my neck and then a rose quartz on my hand. But when you're thinking of heart chakra crystals, think all of the green and pink, right? We know that there's a lot of different ways to choose crystals to balance anything, including the heart chakra. You can look at the mineral content, you can look at the color, you can use your intuition, which is the best one, or you can just look in the Book of Stones, which I've already put away. If you don't have the Book of Stones, let me know. I can send you a link. You can find it on Amazon. Any edition will do, but it has really good information about physical and spiritual and emotional correspondence for any crystal that you can imagine, really. So mineral content is another way. Well, let's talk about color. So like I said, all green and pink. One thing to remember, green stones are good for growing things. So you never want to use a green stone for lung cancer, for example, a tumor. That is something that you want to not to grow. So you don't want to use something like green aventurine on yourself if you have lung cancer, or on your dog even if they have cancer, right? You want to keep the green stones away. So just a sidebar there. Another sidebar as we're talking about crystals and energy work, of course, there are multiple parts to holistic health plan: physical, emotional, and energetic well-being. So crystals are not a substitute for a holistic health plan. So I guess I say this with the heart because if there's a cardiac event, call 911, don't use a rose quartz, okay? Ultimately, you're responsible for your own health and well-being. So use that intuition, pass everything through your filter, and leave what resonates and take what resonates and leave what doesn't. I said it backwards. Don't leave what resonates. That's the wrong thing to do. Okay, so color, all the green and pink. Mineral content. Now, mineral content with the heart chakra is a little tricky. There's not a set in stone. So it really depends on the problem. Sodium is one that comes to mind. Did you know pink Himalayan salt is actually a really good crystal and also a really good salt for heart problems or heart chakra issues? You can also look at iron or potassium, copper for conductivity, because electrical conduction, copper, magnesium, manganese, all of these are important minerals to have. And I talked about this last time, but if you're not drinking really good water, sometimes you can hydrate yourself and strip yourself of minerals at the same time, further dehydrating yourself. So it depends on what municipality you live in, where you live on Big Mama Earth, as to what you might need mineral-wise. Minerals give our human suit polarity, positive and negative charge, like a battery. It's critical for the heart because the heart is the electrical charge for the body. The heart gives the electrical charge to the nervous system to be able to move around and do stuff, not just pump the blood. Not that pumping blood isn't important, but not just pump the blood. Any treatment, anything you do can be made better by balancing minerals. So if you're not using some sort of ionic mineral supplement, or if you have not necessarily a supplement, but some sort of ionic minerals, or if you have questions about it, let me know and I can help you with that. It helps energy work better. It heightens your ability for conventional medicine to work better, for nutrition, for exercise, all of those things. Every function in your human suit, okay? Crystal structure for the heart chakra. Let me look for questions real quick. And I feel a tickle in my throat, so I'm gonna look for questions often so I don't have to cough in y'all's ear. Normally I put throat chakra stones in my water bottle for this talk, but like I said, I've been drinking out of it all day and I felt like I needed that smoky quartz for get all the vibes from the meeting off. Let's see, Bonnie says stress, we talked about that, and says this is so helpful. I can tell that my heart chakra isn't balanced lately. A lot of us are in that same position. It's not uncommon. The social isolation that we're facing, the worry, the stress, the grief, the loneliness, all of these things coming together You know, you're not alone in that. And Bonnie also says green is my favorite color. I love me some green. Me too. I don't wear green stones a lot though, interestingly, but I guess I could have worn a green shirt. So the crystal structure for the heart chakra is the star tetrahedron. And so I don't have a star tetrahedron to show you, but you can Google star tetrahedron. It's the same as the solar plexus chakra, but in a 5-pointed star. Let's talk crystals. Okay. Probably the most common crystal for the heart chakra is the rose quartz. And this is a pretty good size rose quartz. It's kind of the epic heart chakra stone. It's really good for love and gentleness, emotional healing, release of stress. So Bonnie mentioned stress. Rose quartz, really good for release of stress. It's powerful but gentle for the heart chakra. It's really stabilizing for anyone who's had physical heart trauma or imbalance. And it's also really good for premature babies, young kiddos, specifically those with heart murmurs or heart weakness or heart disease. A lot of times people ask me, you know, my daughter, my neighbor, my friend is having a baby. What stone should we get for the nursery? And something like this to keep out of reach of baby, of course, rose quartz is really, really good for that. Also, you can find rose quartz. That was raw. Most of my stones are raw, but you can find them in cute little shapes. Rose quartz heart, really good for the heart chakra. Also, green aventurine. Let's see if you can see that. Green aventurine is, despite it kind of being like a dull green, right? It's not the most beautiful stone. It is the stone of vitality and growth. And that's why it's part of the Manifest Abundance kits on Gemstone Well. It's also really good for confidence, for optimism, for joy, for growth and regrowth. That's why we talked about a little bit for the Cancer. It's really good to stimulate cellular repair. Okay. Really good if you have a child that you want to develop a little faster. So maybe kiddo's a little bit behind in school. Maybe they're behind in school because they haven't been in school for 6 months. You know, it's also good reinforcer stone. So it helps to strengthen and tonify, reinforce your energy fields. This is a fun one we don't get to talk about very much. It is peridot, and it's peridot on the matrix. I don't know if you can see that there. It's from Hawaii. Let's see. And it's kind of got little peridot spots all over the place. And it's kind of funny. I ended up with this one by accident. I had ordered big hunks of peridot and they were out. So she said, can I send you something special? And this is what I ended up with, which is kind of perfect. It wasn't what I was after, but it's perfect. Peridot is good for increasing prosperity, removing blockages to receiving. And we're going to talk about a specific way, a specific technique to remove blockages to receiving. Especially for people like us who are into crystals or on that path. It's a common theme for us to be really, really good at giving, at fixing, at giving love and energy and time to something. But oftentimes, myself included, we're not really good at receiving that kind of thing back, especially from other humans, right? Peridot is also good for heaviness of the heart. Anemia, if you're anemic, peridot is a stone for you. Get yourself a little peridot bracelet. They can be kind of expensive. It's also good for low oxygen saturation, which kind of goes hand in hand with anemia. Usually low oxygen saturation, if it's not for a lung issue, is because you're anemic, because the iron binds to the oxygen. We could go off on a whole science lesson on that. Let's see. Bonnie says, you said loneliness is one of the leading precursors. And I was like, oh no, my husband is overseas. Oh, and you've been feeling lonely this year. I'm so sorry. So I'm so sorry for you. But hopefully you have a community of people either online like us, ask us questions, we'd love to talk, or in person that you can, be a part of and feel a part of that community. And Bonnie, is he serving? Is he in the military? I'm just curious. If he is, or whatever he's doing, thank him for his service. Bonnie also says she loves aventurine and amazonite. I love both of those. I have Colorado and Arkansas amazonite. I love them both. Green calcite. This is another one. Calcite is really gentle. If you don't have a full chakra calcite set, I encourage you to get one to use on yourself. especially if you're kind of new to this. Green calcite's all about relaxation, release of stress and resentment, finding and connecting with your own heart space. It's also really good for plaque and blockages in the arteries, and it's good for helping the aura. So there's a theory that the aura comes out of the heart chakra, and then if you've seen like the spiral, it spirals outward from there. So green calcite is a good way for that. Bonnie said he's in the Navy. Thank him for his service. And thank you for your service, because a lot of times the Navy wives are working just as hard behind the scenes so that their Navy man can be out there doing his job. So thank you for that. Pink calcite is another one. I don't have any pink calcite on me. It's well-being, wholeness, empathy, connection, connection of the mind and heart, which is really, really important, because sometimes we get stuck making decisions from here when we need to be making decisions from here. Hi, Terry. Terry says, thank you, Bonnie, too. Welcome, Terry. Another really important one is rhodonite, and my rhodonite piece is super small, but I don't know if you can see that. Rhodonite is helpful for emotional healing, self-love, helps to encourage or enhance a courageous heart, and it really aligns with the frequency of love. And an interesting note is this is really good for caffeine withdrawal. So if you're trying to kick a soda habit, a coffee habit, whatever caffeine habit you might have, then this is a really good stone for that. Another fun one, and I had a piece of raw emerald, and I think some little hands borrowed it and then probably lost it. But this is emerald in matrix. So I don't know if you can see, let me see if I can angle that right. This is emerald. So if you set it sideways, you can see the emerald sticking up, and there's lots of emerald poking around in here, but that is emerald. Emerald is really great for love and compassion, healing and abundance. It helps you connect to the frequency of the divine. It's a really great emotional healer, a really strong heart healer, and it helps you to have a caring nature without stepping into vulnerability, right? So it allows you to be careful without the risk or without making yourself vulnerable. It also helps to enhance trust in the divine. It's my daughter's birthstone, so usually when I get some emerald, it ends up in her room somewhere. But this is one that I brought home from Colorado. Good stuff, good stuff. Bonnie said we just got some rhodonite. Nice. One of my very favorite stones, especially because I pulled a muscle in my back last week, and the combination of these two stones is instant pain relief. But malachite, look how pretty that is. Malachite. There, I'm trying to show it. So malachite is good for leadership, for creativity, for confidence. It has copper in it, which is good for conductivity. Also using copper pendulums wrapped in copper can be good for the heart chakra as well. But it helps us to reconnect. Malachite helps us to reconnect with that knowledge that we co-create our existence. We're not the victim. We co-create. So it can help you get out of that victim energy, that victim polarity. It also helps to bring back vitality, especially after surgery. It helps support red blood cells and hemoglobin and oxygenation. And like I said, it's really, really good. Like sprain an ankle, malachite and fuchsite. Pull a muscle in your back because you weren't being very smart, malachite and fuchsite. So I highly, highly encourage you, if you don't have this in your crystal collection, then take it with you. And yes, malachite is it's good for safety and travels as well, as Bonnie said. That's really interesting. Bonnie says malachite was her first slab stone. So I don't know if you're saying it was the very first crystal you ever had. Mine was quartz. So mine was like so basic. Quartz, and then I got a big amethyst, and then it went on from there. But malachite's a cool one to be your first stone. You do want to be careful if you break malachite. It's toxic. So you do have to get rid of it if you break it. Be really careful with the powder. Take a drink because I can feel that throat tickling. All right, pink aventurine is the next one. Pink aventurine is just so cute. See if I can see that better. And we can compare it to the green aventurine. Bonnie says, yes, malachite was the first crystal. That's really cool first crystal that she bought. So this is the green and this is the pink aventurine. Pink aventurine helps with discernment and blood strengthening and self-forgiveness. It's not very common. It can be a little hard to find. You have to be careful because this one's faked a lot. So it's one to be careful with. The next one is moonstone. I have two moonstones. I have a moonstone ring, and then I have this moonstone, which is technically it's a gray moonstone, but really in real life, the color is pink, right? And this, like I said, it's technically probably gray. There's not a pink moonstone per se, but the pink tinge of it really brings me to the heart chakra with it. And it helps to reconnect the clairvoyance of the heart, right? So the sensing of the heart, getting out of your brain and getting into your heart, helps reconnect the clairvoyance of the heart to that energy field so that it's detecting things first, right? Because that's its job as the primary organ, is to detect things first, for you to notice it in your heart first. It's also really good to help manifest creations. Now here's a fun one, and we talked about this probably at the beginning of last year when we started this whole thing, but moldavite. Now moldavite's super expensive. And so, let me get it centered on the camera. My piece is really small. So and dropped. My piece is about the size of a dime. If you're shopping for moldavite, you want to be sure that you take a jeweler's loupe with you and you really examine it, because it's faked a lot. A lot of people end up with green glass. Now, moldavite is not so much for healing, more for activation. It's also good for the third eye. We'll talk about that when we get to those chakras, but it's good for transformation. So if you need to transform something in your heart, moldavite is the one to do. Now, it's what most people consider an advanced crystal. So if you're kind of new to this whole thing, then I wouldn't jump right to moldavite, right? It's actually, and technically it's not a crystal. Technically it is a glass from when a meteorite hit the earth. When I went to Tucson back in January for the big gem and crystal show, I went into a room of moldavite with the intention of buying a bigger piece, something more like this malachite, right? You can see the difference here. And the energy, the sensation of the moldavite in the room, because they sell you, the crystal shops are in these little like walk-in motel rooms. And so there was just so much moldavite in there. I was just... These guys are going to talk me out of all the money that I have in the world on a piece of moldavite this big, because it's just so overpowering, right? Moldavite, it helps to bring forth your shadows. So use caution, your deepest, darkest fears, and can help you clear them as well. But again, it's not usually a healing stone. So you might use moldavite to bring those fears up and then use another stone to clear them out, or your shadows, to do your shadow work. And then the last individual crystal we'll talk about is unakite. Isn't it cute? I don't know. There's just something about it. It's kind of a limey green and black and pink. It's really good for the release of bad habits, specifically ones that relate to your heart, right? The release of negative emotional patterns when it's a habitual thought. It's also really good for the emotional freedom technique. I think emotional freedom technique is like a branded thing. So I'm going to say emotional release, or heart wall release, that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. This is the one stone that if you were going to use a stone on the heart chakra to help with something you didn't want to grow, it would be unakite. It's frequently used because of its blood cleansing type property in the treatment of cancer or heart disease. All right. Let's talk food. Okay, foods, all things green, right? It's hard to find a pink food. I can't think, I guess passion fruit, that'd be a good one, huh? Those are bright pink. But all things green for the heart chakra. And it's kind of funny that like in nutrition medicine and conventional medicine and in energy medicine, eat the green things. That's what's good for your heart, okay? So do that. And since there's not a whole lot of food to talk about, like usually I give you guys a list of foods and there's not a ton of foods to talk about for the heart chakra, I wanted to talk to you about a couple herbs and adaptogens that are really great for the heart physically and the heart chakra. Bonnie says watermelon. That's a good one too. Watermelon can also be very grounding as well. So the first one is hawthorn. That's an herbal tonic or herbal heart. It tonifies the heart. It can be made into a tonic, but it's a toner, a tonifier of the heart or strengthener. It can help aging hearts. It can help lower blood pressure. It can help even out a heart rate, even out an overactive or underactive chakra. It's probably the best herbal remedy or supporter for a heart condition, period. It grows most everywhere in North America and lots of other places on Mama Earth. And what you'll find is usually the herbs that grow nearest to where you live are the ones that help you the most. Hawthorn helps to put the heart back in charge as the primary organ of perception. It helps you to make decisions from the heart versus from the head. Another good one is hibiscus tea, and it tastes pretty good too. Bonnie wants to know, how do you spell hawthorn? I will spell that for you. I'm going to put it in the comments, Bonnie. Hawthorn. With an ugly miscapital. There we go. Hawthorn. I added it in there for you. Hibiscus tea, another really great herbal treatment. It's more for prevention, right? So if you feel like your heart chakra is balanced, if you're not having any heart issues physically or energetically, then having some hibiscus tea just supports that balance, okay? If you have a family history of heart disease or heart chakra problems, hibiscus tea is going to be something that you're going to want to drink, even if you don't particularly have symptoms or signs or energy. Notice the energy of the heart being off. And then, of course, adaptogens. Adaptogens are one of my favorite categories of herbs and foods or plants because they work by filling in the gaps of what the body needs. So if you're not using an adaptogen for your energy, for your physical human suit, then I encourage you to use them. There's lots of fun ways. You can kind of hide them in your food or hide them in your drinks if you don't like it. Think of an adaptogen as a really good friend. The one that comes over to vent, right? Because they've had a terrible day, but when they walk in the room and see you over the moon excited about something, they immediately flip the switch and celebrate with you. That's kind of what an adaptogen does. On the flip side, if they flip the switch and help the negative stuff as well. Some of my favorite adaptogens for the heart chakra are reishi and holy basil. So think of those. Holy basil is pretty easy to grow yourself. Reishi's a little bit trickier. Terry says, and there went my internet. Catch you on the replay. I'll see you there, Terry. Let me know if you have questions. Essential oils for the heart chakra. Depends on where you're at. Peppermint, really, really good. The best essential oil for the heart chakra is rose. It's also one of the most expensive. So instead of rose, I encourage you to use something like geranium, okay? Another good, I think I held up rosemary a minute ago when I said peppermint. But peppermint and then rosemary is another good one as well. And you can just apply it directly to the heart chakra. I don't want to get it on my shirt, but I like to put a drop on the heart chakra and then make a figure 8 with it. Okay? And that's really, really good. Another thing you can do, it doesn't connect for me, but a lot of people also make hearts for the heart chakra. So they just make little hearts just like that. I mean, you can do that over your heart chakra. Peppermint's also a really good one just to wake up and clear your brain. So that's a good one to use. Other ones, frankincense. Frankincense or rose, king and queen of all the plants. And lemongrass and bergamot are also really helpful too. So for energy work for the heart, Maria, you just bought rose essential oil. Awesome. That's awesome. I have some. It's a tiny little vial and I only get it out for really special occasions. So I'm more of a geranium gal because I'm, let's say, frugal with some things. Not with crystals, clearly, but with other things. So we talked about energy work-wise. We've gone through the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus chakra. And we talked heavily about grounding with the root chakra. But I feel like I failed to mention on the sacral and solar plexus how important being grounded is to any of these processes, any of these chakras, and any of this energy work. Everything, whether you're doing energy work on yourself, whether you're doing energy work on someone else, even when I do energy work on horses, grounding is always, always, always step one. And so it can be simple. You can just put your bare feet on the earth. You can touch a tree. You can get in a natural body of water, or most pools, unless they're plastic lined some way. All of those things are super, super grounding. And it's particularly, and you can also use stones, of course, to do that, or the grounding cord technique that I taught you in the root chakra class. So if you didn't see that, definitely go back and check that out. But it becomes particularly important when you're working on the heart chakra because of the electrical current of the heart chakra, not just in the energy field, but also in the human solid matter, the physical human suit, right? The heart generates that electrical current. And just like if you were to plug your iPhone charger into the wall and the wall outlet wasn't grounded, you might not have the grounding, the three-pronged plug. You might not have the grounding plug on the charger. In fact, iPhone chargers don't, but your wall plug is grounded. So that if it wasn't grounded, it wouldn't work, right? It wouldn't work properly. It would over or under work. Same for your body. So you want to make sure that you are nice and grounded. This also circles back to your minerals, right? All of us need to be balanced in our minerals so that your polarity is correct. So opening the heart chakra expands your horizon for sharing love, for sharing energy, for loving energy. People of different backgrounds, of course, stimulate the growth. So being around, which is hard for us right now because we're in pseudo quarantine, right? But being around other people, diverse people, different from you, different from your family, helps to stimulate and grow that heart chakra. Unity, right? Not separation. Rejection is one of our most basic human fears, and that can really, really, really throw off our heart chakra. It throws off our heart chakra fast, and it also just threatens that internal balance of self-acceptance. So if your heart chakra isn't balanced, rejection can short circuit you. It can be more deeply felt than it would have been if your heart chakra was balanced. And it can short circuit, if you will, your positive feedback loop that helps right you after you've been rejected, right? So it ends up helping or causing us to turn non-love towards ourselves, to self-destruct. And not like in a dramatic self-destruction way necessarily, although that can happen, but just in those little micro traumas that we do to ourselves, right? So I'm going to give you a couple tools because I could tool y'all, give y'all enough tools in the toolbox we'd be here until tomorrow, but I tried to pick some of my very favorite ones. The first one is a dual flow meditation. And we're not going to do the meditation right now because it would take too much. But all you do is sit down, get yourself grounded, and then you visualize that heart chakra as a tiny pink rosebud. And then with each in-breath, you inhale, and that little pink rosebud opens a little bit more. And then you inhale again, and it opens a little bit more. And it's almost like a time-lapse video. Have you ever seen a time-lapse video of a flower opening? So you're doing that in your mind's eye as you're breathing in. Each time it gets bigger, and then it fills up your whole body, and then your whole room, and then your whole house, and etc., all the way until that rose covers Mama Earth, right? So once you have that, then you picture water. The heart chakra is a water element. Picture water coming out of that heart chakra, okay? Once you have the hang of that water coming out of the heart chakra, you pause the flow and reverse it and picture that water coming in. This can be a little tricky because sometimes you're so deep in meditation, you're like waterboarding yourself. But you're picturing that water coming in your heart chakra. And then once you get the hang of that, you pause that flow and then you do it both at the same time. A lot of times that messes with your mind. So sometimes it can take some practice. But I encourage you to do that when you're trying, especially for manifestation of abundance. That dual flow meditation is very, very powerful. Let's see. Take a sip. Bonnie says, I sleep with a huge red jasper flame to help ground. That's awesome. And then she wants to know any special meditation music that you have found to help realign the heart chakra. I can put some links to some meditation music for that. There is a particular frequency or hertz that you can listen to that is specifically for that heart chakra. You can also find singing bowls. Mine's over there that are tuned for the heart chakra. I don't know if you can see it. You can see the red handle maybe, but the shelves are kind of dark. So another one that is really, really simple when you find yourself out of alignment with your heart chakra, and I like to use oils to do this, so I'll put a little of my favorite oil, cup my hands, breathe in, and then put my hands over my heart and exhale. And you might have to do that a couple of times. But that's, if you ever have seen someone or experienced that, oh, that's why people clutch their chest, because it's a heart chakra thing. And so you can kind of reverse that by inhaling and then exhaling. Another easy one that you can get away with, kind of in public, if you will, is tapping. You can tap that heart chakra or tap that. Really, it's twofold, right? So most everyone needs to be doing this every single morning, just because it stimulates that thymus gland, which helps to stimulate our immune system, which is really, really important. So you can just tap, tap, tap. This also helps. It's part of the governing meridian, so it helps to balance the energies of your whole body. Heart being the primary organ, it all spiraling out from there. So that's a really good one to do. You can amp that up. So sometimes I'll take a green aventurine and tap, 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 tap. Or take a rose quartz and tap, 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 tap. Okay, that's another really good one. Another really simple one is called closing the circuit. And you can do this a couple of ways. We know that if you think of a battery, you think of the polarity on the human body. Left is negative, so it's the minus sign on that AA battery that I always put in there upside down. And then the right hand is the positive side, right? The left hand is receiving energy. The right hand is sending energy. To close the circuit, you just need a stone big enough to hold in two hands. So in meditation, I usually hold it like this, but down on my lap. You can do it that way, or you can use the same or different stone in one each hand. That's another good way to do it. So like that. Or if you want to get really, really hyper technical, and this is not a natural point, but you can put a natural point. You want to point it in, where's the camera? You can point it in towards your body with there we are, now we're on the camera, in towards your body on the negative side, and then out for the positive side, okay? And then you can meditate like that, or just hold it. Sometimes I'll just do that while I'm watching TV if I'm feeling out of balance and we're kind of having our family TV time in the evening or something. Then you might catch me with a stone in each hand or one stone in my lap. That's called closing the circuit, okay? Now this one is a little bit more in-depth technique, but very, very valuable. So sometimes we get something called a heart wall, okay? And a heart wall happens, especially, it can happen anytime, but especially when dealing with the heart chakra. A lot of times it happens, the wall happens because we are either energetically working to keep other people's energies out, and it doesn't have to be humans necessarily, like active humans in your space. It can also be possible, because it's possible to soak up just about any type of energy, right? Physical toxins, illness, emotions, beliefs, goals, not meeting goals. And it can be something that you absorb from the people around you or the things around you. It can be something that you absorb from different cultures or races or religions. It can be any number of scenarios, right? Usually when we take on some other energy, it's a survival situation. It's to help us survive, whether you do it consciously or unconsciously. I also see it a lot of times, so it can happen consciously or unconsciously, and then it could be something that happened a long time ago. Because remember, the heart is the primary organ, so it could have happened in utero. It's also it also develops for most around pre-K to first grade, so 4 to about 6.5 years old. And then the next kind of development point for the heart chakra is between 21 and 28 years old. So if you think of those points in your life, you could have developed a heart wall anytime, but particularly if you had trauma or had a specific reason to fit in at any of those stages, at any of those ages. So what ends up happening when we do this protection, when we try to block out other energies, we build an energetic wall around our heart. And think of it as an anterior posterior wall, so a front to back wall, right? The thing we talked about with the belt flow last time, that helps the top to bottom wall, okay? So going up and down the column vertically. So we're talking about in and out this way. One way to get rid of this is to check in and see if you have a heart wall. This is where I recommend using a pendulum. You can also check in. Some of us have pretty good body sense, but you can check in and use a pendulum and ask if you have a heart wall and if it's optimal to remove that heart wall, right? And then you can even check to see if it's important for you to know the emotion or the energy attached to that heart wall. And sometimes you need to know and sometimes you don't. Now, the next thing you do is to use a heart chakra stone of choice. Some people use a magnet. That doesn't resonate with me. Maybe it resonates with you. I prefer to use a stone. And then you're just going to take it and you can spin it here on the heart chakra. You can also remove a heart wall from going from the heart chakra up and over and off the back of your head. Usually you have to do it 3 to 5 times. I've never had anybody go more than that. And then you check in and you see, is that wall still there? Is there something else for me to clear? And sometimes it's like an onion. It comes off in layers. But it's really simple to check. It's really simple to use a crystal to clear it. You can't do it wrong, okay? Using a magnet doesn't really resonate with me, but that's just me. I don't particularly like to use the man-made stuff. There are some naturally occurring magnets and crystals and stones, so that might be an option for you as well. If you get that there's more to clear and that it's optimally clear, you just keep going with the process, right? Remembering to breathe, remembering to ground, and do all of that good stuff. We're running out of time, but the very last technique I wanted to talk to you about was crystal grids. And I think I did a whole class, so you might check the previous classes on crystal grids. Usually, I like to use this method for receiving and giving love, so being open to love, or for manifesting abundance. So you can use the crystal grid kits. I think there is one for manifesting and abundance, and there's also one for love and harmony. It's an easy way to get started so that you have the proper number of stones. Whichever one, if you're doing love, I recommend the flower of life. If you're doing abundance, I like the infinity sign. The nice thing about these is that they're also layering the energies with the colors. So creating a grid so that you can set it, put your intention in it, and then just give it a little bit of energy until you leave it up until whatever has manifested is what you want. Then that's a really great way to do it. If I'm in an argument with somebody in my family specifically, then oftentimes I will create a grid for love and acceptance and all of those things and leave it up until the energy has settled. I have an abundance grid. Let's see if I can turn so you can see it. So you can see there it is with a big old quartz and some candles and all kinds of things going over there. And that stays up most of the time. I just reset it and reattune to it pretty frequently. And those are 2 really good kind of set it and forget it. So rather than actively stewing or working on manifesting something, manifesting a job or a house sale or a move or a promotion or something, setting a grid for something like that will actually work really, really well, especially once you've opened up that heart chakra with some of the other techniques that I have shared. Woo, this has been a long one, huh? Okay, let me see here. Meditation music, I'll pop back in and get you a link to that. I use Spotify a lot, and there is a specific track on Spotify, so I'll have to figure out how to share that link that I even use in sessions when I'm working on somebody else for the heart chakra. Bonnie says that's beautiful. You'll try that tonight. I think you're talking about the meditation, so let me know how that goes. And then you have a bowl from Bahrain that you don't know. So you can also listen to it. So if you download a guitar tuner app and play the bowl and see what note it is, that will tell you if it's, I believe, G, a G note. That's the heart chakra. So keep that in mind. All right. So like I said, next time we're going to do throat chakra, which is a really, really good one. Really good for thyroid stuff. Also really good for women in general. Historically, that is an underactive chakra on most female or female identifying humans. So I'm excited about that. Class after that, we'll be talking third eye and crown chakra, which is a lot of that woo-woo stuff that I really, really dig. And then we're going to talk pendies. We're going to learn how to energy test ourselves, others with pendulums, and learn all the cool different things that you can do with those. So again, if you're catching this on the replay, make sure you leave comments. Let me know. I'll circle back. If you have a question that you want to post in the group, make sure you tag me in it, because I get lots of notifications, and Facebook does this weird thing where they try to decide what notifications I want to see unless I'm tagged in it. So please don't hesitate to tag me and I will come answer your questions. Hope you all have a great rest of your week, a great rest of your 2 weeks until I see you again. Be well.